Vinicius. Translated into English, generally a madness, kinda gets involved in drama a lot, is a bit annoying, but is a good footballer. Okay, not quite, but like seemingly that seems to be what Vini Jr represents. This is a man with over 300 appearances, over 100 goals and 90 assists for arguably the biggest football club in the world. Yet some of that isn't necessarily overshadowed, but is downplayed a little bit by off-the-field antics. Summed up perfectly by this week playing in one of the biggest games in world football, performing brilliantly, yet the headlines are negative again. Why does everyone seem to hate Vini Jr? And is he truly at fault? Hate is a strong word. Look, listen, like for me, for example, I would hate if this video didn't get 6,000 likes. I would hate to see Milos Kerkez start another game for my football club. But it's what Vini Jr tends to get anytime he steps out onto a football field and does something crazy. Like this week, for example, during El Clásico between Real Madrid and Barca, Real Madrid were victorious at the Bernabeu, 2-1 the score. But Vini was in the headlines for his reaction to being substituted with 20 minutes to go, and then a scrap with Lamine Yamal at full time. Fucking, you could call this El Clásico instead. Am I right? Fuck yeah.
That was shit.
Tensions were flaring between Thibaut Courtois, Dani Carvajal and Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal had been giving it large on the days leading up to the game, and Dani Carvajal told him they'd been yapping a little bit too much. At this point, Vini was looking in the mirror, getting ready to make this all about him, as he charged in to get involved in the scrap as Lamine was escorted off the pitch. Lamine apparently mentioned something to do with the fact that he didn't win a Ballon d'Or. Neither did Lamine Yamal, I guess, but he's got time. Meanwhile, Vini Jr said that Lamine had been yapping far too much. Come on, man, let's have some self-awareness. Both of you are the kings of yap, let's be real. Either way, Vini Jr could be seen waiting in the car park afterwards. Spare a thought for poor Marcus Rashford, who has no fucking clue what any of these lot are saying aggressively to each other. He was booting up Duolingo to establish how Rafinha had berated Vini's entire family lineage.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite saying.
Speaking of which, and Rafinha and Vini Jr, that's gonna be pretty heated between the two of them when they go to international break next month. As for Dani Carvajal, his knee seemingly exploded at even the mere thought of getting involved in a scrap. To be honest, Vini Jr didn't even have to get involved in drama with Lamine Yamal. I'm not even gonna lie to you, like, the kid was absolutely put in a spliff by Alvaro at left back. Nuno Mendes wants a custody battle. It's actually quite fitting that Barcelona were defeated in this game. A pile of wank on the shirt and a pile of wank on the pitch. Pedri seemingly didn't want a shirt associated with Ed Sheeran at all because he tried to swap with Vini Jr. At mid-match isn't a great time, to be honest, lad. You could probably lead that till the end. He'll be slapping it in his basket tomorrow morning before realizing that he's been sent a signed copy over on Insta. And that, you know, that summed up Vini. Vini was class in this game. Like, he was really solid in the 70 minutes that he played. He sent Jules Koundé back to Paris Fashion Week, mate. That man was dropping a stinker in comparison at fullback. He looked like he was trying to play in parachute trousers and a set of loafers. But again, that was overshadowed when Vini Jr was then ultimately substituted with about 20 minutes to go. New manager Xabi Alonso deciding he needed to make way as Real Madrid were looking to hold on to their lead. Vini reacting furiously, not just throwing a bit of a tantrum, but claiming that he was going to have to leave the club if this continued because it was, quote, always him that was getting substituted by the Spaniard. Now, this went down horribly. He charged straight down the tunnel. It was pretty grim viewing, really, if you're Xabi Alonso, if you're any of the coaching staff. You now got to put out fires instead of focusing on a really, really positive El Clásico win. If I'm Xabi, I'm running onto the pitch next match. We'll just show him who's boss, man. You got to let him know you're there. The cracks seemingly are starting to show for reasons I'll get into in a second, but as I mentioned, he threatened to leave. He said it's best that I go, as in leave Real Madrid if I'm going to keep getting substituted or not getting the game time that I want. I know for a fact Rodrigo and Endrick were sat on the bench, rubbing their hands together hearing that information.
How long I've been waiting for this. Ooh, I'm about to make a name.
And look, Vini Jr is a very good player. He's a big commodity with a very big following. He brings a lot of market interest as well as being an excellent footballer. There'll be teams circling around, PSG, Bayern Munich, Manchester City. Ruben Amorim will be trying to convince him to come to United and play at left wing back. Arne Slot's ready to drop another 48 kajillion pounds to improve our front line again.
At the end, we're playing this football because of money.
All they'll have to contend with if they do decide to sign Vini Jr is a very controversial side of the Brazilian star. I mean, this guy has been involved in controversy and drama after drama, seemingly. After the Ballon d'Or conundrum of 2024 and Rodri winning it over him instead, I just know the Spanish mid is somewhere in Manchester, lapping up the news reports he's seeing today. Real Madrid, of course, reckon there was some sort of foul play. They decided to boycott. To be fair, UEFA's statement addressing Vini Jr did seem a little bit suspicious.
You sure are uppity, man. You know what? That's the problem with you people.
But I can't, listen, I felt personally that Rodri also deserved to win it. Real Madrid need to just grow up, to be honest with you. They'll be boycotting the New York mayor election soon enough when they find out that he can't win that. To be fair, Raul Asensio and Andrew Cuomo could probably end up in the same party together. Anyway, when he said he'll do it 10 times more, he meant getting into scraps with people. That's generally speaking. I know Carlo Ancelotti's blood cholesterol levels are lower than they were now that he's left Real Madrid, and he doesn't have to manage him day to day. Except he does still have to manage him month to month for Brazil. And look, there's been more problematic players in footballing history, even more problematic, extremely successful players in footballing history. Maybe he's just clip farming so that he can make a new documentary again. And what I said there rings true. Vini Jr is an exceptional footballer. I don't think anyone is really taken away from that. I mean, look, the current modern era of football definitely doesn't reward outright technical brilliance like it did in, say, the mid to early 2000s. Don't know why I said it that way around, but if we're talking about like a Ronaldinho or a Zinedine Zidane, an R9, Thierry Henry, right, he's not got that level of technical ability. He's bold, he's brave, he's quick, he's explosive. He can do most things that you would want in a forward in the modern era of football, apart from a rainbow flick. This is just a rain flick, bruv, because it makes me sad and depressed when I have to watch it on my TV screen. But it's not his on-pitch antics that have people talking. That's a lie. A lot of these things that actually are controversies kind of do happen on the pitch itself. But before I get into any of these, right, I'm obviously not going to talk about racial incidents in terms of he could have done more, he could have dealt with this in a better way. It's happened pretty regularly. Spain has a pretty big racism problem. La Liga has a pretty big racism problem, whether their president Javier Tebas wants to admit it or not. I always see people talk about how certain, black footballers or footballers from ethnic backgrounds are more humble than Vini Jr is and deal with adversity in a way of more humility. Vini Jr shouldn't have to deal with racism in any way whatsoever because it shouldn't be happening. End of story, point blank. So if his reaction is to try and rile up fans in response or be very vocal and outspoken and try and do some level of campaigning to prevent it from happening in the league that he's playing in, then by all means go for it because he shouldn't be subjected to it in the first place. I just wanted to say that as a caveat because I'm obviously not going to be talking about those incidents at all. They're not his fault. But obviously there are other incidents that he's been involved in that I can talk about. I think one clip that went viral when he was in the Ballon d'Or race against Rodri was when Real Madrid were playing against Bayern Munich, and Joshua Kimmich, I think, was trying to give him the ball for a throw-in. He was trying to time waste and was just being, generally speaking, not very nice. It wasn't very good sportsmanship, and people were bringing this up as a reason why he didn't win the Ballon d'Or, because obviously one of the stipulations for winning a Ballon d'Or is that you kind of got to be this nice, sound individual. You can't just be good for your country, good for your team, and also win stuff. So I think that, yeah, he was probably being a bit of a dickhead. Again, this sort of stuff does happen kind of all the time with a lot of people. A lot of players will time waste like that or antagonize their opponents. As long as it's all love at the end of the game, it doesn't matter. Then there was, like lashing out at Willy Orban in a game against, I think, RB Leipzig it would have been. He's lashed out at other players in La Liga matches. Obviously, there's the diving situation and simulation. He goes down very easily. People like to hate on players that do that. He riles up fans quite a lot, just generally speaking. He loves to celebrate in front of supporters. And also then, of course, this incident this weekend where he's having a massive strop at Xabi Alonso for getting substituted. So I guess, does he have a point with the Xabi Alonso situation, right? And you could argue that he does, because since Xabi Alonso has taken charge of Real Madrid, there's been little reasons and rumblings as to, like, does Xabi Alonso really like Vini Jr? Is he considered the main man in a Xabi Alonso team? Like, he's been substituted off quite a few times. He's been dropped for 3 games as well. Not really found his form in the Champions League. He's yet to score. And obviously, he's playing very well in this game against Barcelona. It's the biggest game of the year that's going to happen at the Bernabeu domestically. And he's absolutely ragsing up Jules Koundé, and the manager's brought him off. I get it, you want to play. You want to play. He's a footballer. He wants to play as much football as he can possibly play. But I think also he's got to understand that this is a new manager. He's got to earn that manager's trust. And also, fam, we're in October. Like, he's not been about for that long, with 2 months in terms of actual football, or 2.5 months in or something. Real Madrid have a very busy schedule. Does he need to start against Getafe? Not necessarily, if there's a Champions League game coming up that's more important. At the same time, you know, apparently it's been discussed already. You know, Real Madrid are keen to kind of make it look like it's not a very big deal. Whether it is, whether it will be, is a completely different story. And obviously he's currently stalling over contract talks at the moment, which is also adding a bit more spice to the current situation. But he's not the first player to get upset that is being substituted. We see guys come off the pitch and throw their fucking gloves down or their boots on the floor all the time. At the end of the day, at least he actually came off the pitch, unlike one Spanish goalkeeper. And as for being a little shit in an El Clasico, I don't give a shit at all. Like, we had Rafinha taking medical bags away from injured footballers and dropping them away from where the physio needed them. That's the needle we like in rivalries. For me, it's all very much heat at the moment rather than him being a complete dickhead, yeah. But I think the issue is, and where it starts to become difficult to defend Vini Jr. properly, is this stuff happens all the time. It feels like every month, like there's something, like some genuine reason why opponent fans or fans globally are upset or are saying that this is vindication for him not winning the Ballon d'Or. Thank God, for example, he didn't win the Ballon d'Or. It would have ruined football. These specific moments I don't think are as deep as everyone makes them out to be, but when you combine them all together, it does create this kind of semi-unlikable character. This player that you feel like is always going to have a strop. I think that for me is the frustrating thing. I don't care about being a little shithouse and like getting into a scrap with someone. I don't care about time wasting a little bit. I care about the drama. I care about having a strop. I care about getting upset with your manager again. The long and short of it is, I don't think necessarily Vini Jr. deserves to be hated. I think that's like too much, but I understand that he's the pantomime villain. At the end of the day, he loves to antagonize opponents. He likes to antagonize fans. And so he's probably always going to come across as the bad guy and the villain. But what do you make of Vini Jr.? I feel like this is going to be very polarizing. I think there's going to be some very negative things in the comment section about him. And again, I have no skin in the game. He's not particularly a player that I enjoy the personality of, but I think he's the type of player that if he played for your team, you would absolutely love him. If you have enjoyed this video though, feel free to slap a like on it, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.